Poland's ruling coalition, led by the Law and Justice Party, has collapsed following a late-night vote. The United Right political alliance has been in power since 2015, but has had recent friction between its three member parties. A controversial animal rights amendment making its way through Polish parliament is at the centre of the split. For now, the Law and Justice Party will carry on as a temporary minority government, but negotiations could make that permanent or bring elections forward. Well, let's go to Krakow to find out more on the political developments. Our reporter Leszek Kablak is there for us. Just tell us, why was this animal rights bill so controversial, and what changes that engineered?
Good morning, Rosie. You're right, the situation is really interesting. And why it happened? Well, as we talked earlier, the Law and Justice Party, after last election, decided to turn a little bit and wants to catch votes of central voters, from big cities, young voters. And that's why they try to change its policy. And this Animal Protection Act is one of this most important chapters in this on this road. The political situation in Poland now is getting more and more interesting minute by minute. If someone had said a few days ago that the United Right government would collapse because of animals, no one would have believed it. Today it is not so obvious. So what do we know for now? Speaker of the Parliament, Ryszard Terlecki from Law and Justice, announced that the leadership of the party will meet on Monday, and then they will decide what to do next. The situation is serious. No coalition talks are planned because there is no coalition anymore. Marek Suski told journalists in the parliament that the Minister of Agriculture from PiS, who voted against this act, could pack up. Early parliamentary elections cannot be ruled out of the moment.
Well, elections were scheduled for 2023. So this collapse in the coalition, what changes might that engineer? Could we see elections sooner than that?
Maybe yes, maybe no. Marek Suski said that the minority government could rule. He added that in the past, minority governments have repeatedly ruled Poland, and some had even carried out major reforms. It is possible that Law and Justice members of our parliaments who voted against the amendment on Animal Protection Act will be excluded today from the party. But it doesn't mean that the Law and Justice can rule the country. It will still do it, besides having only 200 votes. But we'll see what's going to happen on Monday. This is a crucial day, and who knows, maybe we'll see a new date for an early election before 2022.
One of the minority parties is headed by the Justice Minister. Rule of law has been a real sticking point, a real point of contention in the country. How will the departure of that party affect that issue of rule of law?
Well, the issue of rule of law returns as a boomerang very often when we speak about Poland. And I think that even the change in the seat of the Foreign Justice Ministry in Poland won't change anything, because this is a policy of Law and Justice and even, United Right. But even if Zbigniew Ziobro loses his seat, and probably it's going to happen, the Law and Justice won't change his policy. I mean, Law and Justice and Jarosław Kaczyński want to clear the situation in this justice area. After 1989, a previous government didn't do it, didn't clean the situation after communist period in Poland, and Law and Justice want definitely to end this chapter.
Well, it's going to be absolutely fascinating to follow the developments. Leszek, thank you very much speaking to us there from Krakow. Well, let's find out more. Warsaw and Brussels have had a testy relationship with the Law and Justice Party at the helm. Let's go to the EU capital and speak with our correspondent Shona Murray to find out a little bit more. Morning to you, Shona. Quite a lot of dramatic developments there. The Law and Justice Party in particular, we've talked about this time and time again. They've been a real thorn in the EU side, especially, as I was just talking to Leszek there, about rule of law. What will Brussels be looking to see as this political situation starts to develop?
Well, obviously just taking note at the collapse of the coalition and kind of wondering whether or not that means that the Law and Justice Party will be consolidating power and taking up that position in Ministry of Justice, because, of course, it's the Law and Justice Party that has been in conflict with Brussels the most around the issue of rule of law, around independence of the judiciary, around the freedom of the press, and around the government's targeting of LGBTI groups and other groups, other minority groups. So there's a real concern, there will be a real concern as to what the future future holds. We heard Ursula von der Leyen on Wednesday even, commenting about how horrified she is the fact that in Poland there are LGBTI-free zones. She said these are humanity-free zones. But I suppose the question is what happens next, and we really don't know. Does this situation precipitate another election, ahead of the 2023 date? If so, what happens then? Does it mean the Law and Justice Party, get a higher majority? If you look at the last election in Poland, the presidential election, Andrzej Duda won by only a very small majority. So you could, I suppose, ask the question whether other opposition groups could have an opportunity there to change the makeup of the Polish government. But there has been concern about democratic backsliding in Poland for some time now. So member states and Brussels will certainly be looking upon to see what is going to happen next. But again, it's quite unpredictable given that the coalition collapsed over an animal rights bill just a few hours ago. Rosie?